Good evening, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. Implementation of the budget disappointing due to the government's poor execution. Capital expenditure limited to 15% in the first 6 months of the current fiscal year. More than 47 families affected by the Jajakot earthquake still compelled to live in tents. More than 20,000 families deprived of money for the construction of temporary shelters. The Israel-Hamas war reaches 100 days today. More than 24,000 Palestinians and 1,200 Israelis killed in the war. Israelis gather at Hostages Square in Tel Aviv to mark the day. And APF thumps Bagmati province by 89 runs in the Prime Minister Cup men's cricket tournament. Karnali province also defeats Gandaki province by 7 wickets. 6 months have gone by in the ongoing fiscal year. However, the government's capital expenditure is limited to 15%. Experts have highlighted the government has failed to give momentum to projects that are directly concerned with the public, like road construction, agriculture, and the employment sector. Although the government had declared that it would prepare a work modality and directive for projects by mid-August and halt budgets for projects without progress by mid-November, the implementation has remained feeble. New contracts have yet to be assigned, and existing projects like the Mugling Pokhara, Kamala Kanchanpur, Butwal Narayangad roads failed to gain momentum. As a result, the costs of investments have gone up as daily movements have also been affected. The Ministry of Urban Development has also failed to attain significant progress with its city projects in Basantapur, Kurkot, Chor Jahari, Baitari, Patan, among other places. Experts also say the economic cycle itself has been affected as the budgets allocated for fiscal infrastructure were not utilized on time. Half of the cement and rod industries, among others, are close to shutting down, and experts attribute the scenario to the inability of the government to prioritize the right projects. The government has also failed to implement its plans in the agriculture sector. The 100 billion rupees in compensations announced for farmers who lost their cattle to lumpy skin disease and the arrears to be paid to farmers that sold to the government's Dairy Development Corporation have yet to be released. Apart from infrastructure projects, the government has also failed to provide vehicle licenses since 1 year. Meanwhile, the government has attributed procedural hassles as the reason behind the sluggish service delivery and has claimed of making improvements at the earliest. The government has also yet to implement the Prime Minister's employment program that has a budget of 5.94 billion rupees, along with the reintegration plans of the Nepalese workers who returned home from foreign employment. In this context, in our Public Voice segment, today we have asked industrialists and businessmen in several provinces how was their businesses in the 6 months of the ongoing fiscal year. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
एक तो उद्योग चल्न सकेन पैसा टाइमली भुक्तानी नहुँदाखेरि बैंक इन्ट्रेस्ट चरम सीमामा पुग्यो
कति उद्योग त बन्दै छन् अब झन् बन्द हुँदै जाने अवस्था छ
बजार चलायमान हुन नसकिरहेको स्थितिले गर्दाखेरि औद्योगिक उत्पादनमा पनि मिनिमम 40 देखि 50% सम्म चाहिँ गिरावट आएको स्थिति
बजारमा वस्तुको माग भइरहेको छैन
बैंकको ब्याज किस्ता तिर्न नसकेर एकदम चौपट भएको छ व्यवसाय चाहिँ ठप्प छ यो 6 महिना चाहिँ
हामीलाई एकदम कष्टकर नै रह्यो व्यापार बन्द छ अहिले
बिक्री कमै छ अहिले
कहिले का फुटपाथ एउटा दुईटा ग्राहक आउँछ रेट सोध्छ गइहाल्छ
धेरै डाउन छ अहिले पहिले जस्तो व्यापारै छैन
बैंकले फाइनान्स नगरेर सबै यो डामाडोल भएको छ 1 वर्षदेखि त एकदमै मन्दा चलिरहेको छ व्यापार
एकदमै यो मन्दी भयो व्यापार व्यवसाय बिल्कुल भएन
नेपालकै अर्थतन्त्र कम भएको हुनाले चाहिँ बिक्री बट्टामा चाहिँ एकदमै कमी आएको छ
पहिला हुन्थ्यो बिक्री बट्टा अहिले मान्छे आउँदैनन्
घाटै सस्तरी हुन के छैन फाइदा त्यो
पारीबाट सामानहरु आउने भयो उनीहरुले घर घरमा पुगाउने भए त्यो अलि व्यवहार घटिरहेछ
6 महिनाको अवस्था हेर्दाखेरि व्यापारी अवस्था चाहिँ झन्डै 70-80% घटिसकेको छ र बजारमा मान्छेको फ्लो पनि छैन
बर्सातमा बर्सात भयो भन्ने भयो चाडबाड भयो भन्ने भयो अब चल्छ कि भन्ने आशमै बसिरहेका छौं
व्यापार ठप्पै जस्तो देखियो
खासै व्यापार छैन पहिला जस्तो
मान्छे अहिले चहल पहल त्यस्तो केही छैन चहलपहलै कम छ सुन्ने छ बजार
Only 9,638 temporary shelters have been constructed in Jajarkot in almost 2.5 months since the earthquake. The shelters were built by federal and local governments, various organizations and political parties. Although the government had assured of distributing the first installment to the earthquake victims to construct the temporary shelters by mid-December, all of them have not received the amount. The number of earthquake victims that need the money to construct the shelters in Jajarkot alone is 35,140, out of which 27,132 have already signed agreements with the related municipalities for the first installment. Among them, 21,444 individuals from all the 7 local levels in the district have received the first installment of 25,000 rupees, while agreements still need to be made with 8,008 earthquake victims. The District Disaster Management Committee has already sent 849,575,000 rupees to the account of the municipality's Local Disaster Management Committee for the first installment. As the local levels have not been serious regarding the identification of the beneficiaries among other issues, some of the earthquake victims are living in tents during the mid-winter chilly weather, while some have moved back to their houses that suffered cracks, challenging the risk. Meanwhile, the earthquake victims of Salyan are also compelled to bear the winter cold due to temporary shelters not being constructed in a timely manner, as there is lack of manpower in the district. Around 500 temporary shelters have been constructed in Salyan so far, while more than 1,200 still need to be built. Some volunteers and personnel from the Nepal Army are busy in the earthquake-affected areas, demolishing damaged structures and constructing temporary shelters. The earthquake that struck on 3rd of November last year, with Jajarkot as its epicenter, had completely damaged 1,743 houses in the 3 municipalities in Salyan. More than 5,000 houses have suffered partial damages. The most number of houses that were completely damaged in the earthquake was in Dharma, where 1,179 houses were destroyed. Likewise, 366 houses in Bagchor and 171 houses in Kumak suffered damages. Only 520 earthquake victims in Dharma and 60 in Kumak have received the first installment for the construction of temporary shelters so far. The victims in Bagchor municipality have not received the installment yet. The municipality has informed that the delay in providing the installment in Bagchor was due to the number of beneficiaries not being collected, while the delay in Dharma and Kumak has been attributed to lack of adequate funds. The government has sent only 20 million rupees for the earthquake victims in Salyan. From the amount sent by the government for the first installment, the District Disaster Management Committee has distributed 13 million rupees to Dharma, 1.5 million rupees to Kumak and 3.5 million rupees to Bagchor for the construction of temporary shelters. It's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
But before that, let's take a look at the results from yesterday's poll. Yesterday we had asked you, why have political parties not formulated legislation to facilitate leadership change? 84% voted for A, high-handedness policy, 12% voted for B, new generation not ready, and 4% voted for C, lack of pressure. And here's today's question. What should be done to facilitate services at Bir Hospital? Your options are A, adequate manpower, B, swift management, and C, government monitoring. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. The ruling alliance is considering the option of endorsing the bill related to transitional justice from the winter session of the Parliament, even if a consensus among the parties is not reached. The meeting of the ruling alliance held at the Prime Minister's official residence in Balwatar today concluded that the bill could not be concluded due to conflict of interest among parties, despite the lapse of 17 years. The alliance is in favor of incorporating the concerns of the main opposition CPN-UML and other stakeholders as much as possible, but is also looking to endorse the bill through voting process if a consensus cannot be reached. Meanwhile, the main opposition is also in favor of the parliamentary process to decide the fate of the bill. However, Whip of the party, Mahesh Bartola, says the bill should not miss out on any of the concerns of the victims of the conflict era and their families. Bartola called for a victim-friendly law. The two commissions formed by the government for the transitional justice process has failed to produce effective results at the lack of laws. Both the commissions are without many of their office bearers for the same reason. In the same context, Speaker of the House of Representatives Devraj Ghimire has backed the option of going through parliamentary voting to decide the fate of the transitional justice bill. Speaking with Kantipur Television, Speaker Ghimire said a mess had been made out of the transitional justice for 17 years and called for a deeper discussion among parties first before exploring the parliamentary voting process. Speaker Ghimire also opined that there was a need to call for and end the parliamentary sessions on time and work on bills based on priority in order to make the parliament effective. However, he expressed frustration over the lack of response on part of the Office of the President to the month-old correspondence regarding the appointment of the General Secretary at the Parliament Secretariat. We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Today marked 100 days since Hamas militants rampaged through communities in southern Israel, during which Israel says 1,200 people were killed and 240 were taken as hostages. During a temporary ceasefire in November, Hamas released 105 hostages. Israel kept up bombardments in the Gaza Strip yesterday, vowing to press ahead with its offensive to destroy the Islamist movement Hamas as the war reaches the 100-day mark with no end in sight. Since the October 7 attack on Israel, which triggered the war, more than 24,000 Palestinians have been killed, and Gaza is a wasteland of rubble with all but a handful of its 2.3 million population squeezed into a tiny corner at the southern end of the enclave. Israelis gathered at Hostages Square in Tel Aviv to mark 100 days since their relatives were abducted and taken into captivity in Gaza. After South Africa lodged a lawsuit against Israel alleging genocide against the Palestinians, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel will not be deterred by the International Court of Justice from pursuing its Gaza war until total victory. Netanyahu also said that a decision had yet to be made about a potential military takeover of the Philadelphia corridor along the Gaza Strip's border with Egypt. It's time now for another short break. We'll be right back.
Sports news.
Armed police force thumped Bagmati province by 89 runs in the Prime Minister Cup men's cricket tournament today. Sandeep Johra scored a brilliant century in APF's win. In the match played at the Tribhuvan University Cricket Ground in Kantipur today, APF were put to bat first and posted a challenging total of 241 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in the stipulated 50 overs. Sandeep Johra top scored for APF, scoring 112 runs off 117 balls, smashing 5 sixes and 7 fours. Lokesh Bum also contributed 27 runs and Amar Rutela added 22. Surya Tamang with 3 wickets was the leading wicket taker for Bagmati. Chasing a victory target of 242 runs, Bagmati were bowled out for 152 runs in 42.5 overs. Skipper Reet Gautam was the leading run scorer for Bagmati with 60 runs. Opener Ashutosh Kiraiya also added 41 runs and Rabin Joshi scored an unbeaten 20. Rohit Paurel was the pick of the APF bowlers, grabbing 4 wickets. Meanwhile, Karnali Province defeated Gandaki Province by 7 wickets in the Prime Minister Cup men's cricket tournament today in the match that was delayed due to foggy condition and reduced to 45 overs. In the match played at Siddhartha Cricket Stadium in Siddhartha Nagar, Bhairawa today, Gandaki batted first after losing the toss and posted a below-par total of 122 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in the allotted 45 overs. Gandaki had a disastrous start to their innings as they lost their first wicket when 3 runs were on the board and were 5 wickets down after posting just 22 runs in 10.4 overs. Gandaki finally managed to post 122 runs. Amrit Gurung and Kamal Pariyar were the leading run scorers for Gandaki with 21 runs each. Ashwanish Rana also added 16 runs and Chandra Paudel scored an unbeaten 14. Anuj Chanara, Dinesh Adhikari and Dipendra Rawat all claimed 2 wickets each for Karnali. Chasing a victory target of 123 runs, Karnali romped home scoring 126 runs in 33.2 overs, losing 3 wickets. Himanshu Shahi top scored for Karnali with 53 runs, hitting 2 sixes and 5 fours. Opener Nishchal Rawal also contributed 29 runs and remained not out, while skipper Rabindra Shai added 20. Ankit Neopani with 2 wickets was the leading wicket taker for Gandaki. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.